Hello and welcome back to another episode. Now, the topic of today's podcast episode is all about the idea of locking in. Now, you may have seen content online about this. I don't know if you're as chronically online as I am, but there's this idea of locking in, and it's spoken about with this idea of like locking in to big goals and habits. And so it's quite often spoken about for quite intense habits like working out and eating healthily. There's like various challenges. There's one called 75 Hard, which is kind of awful. I attempted it once and I got to day 17, but it's like exercise twice a day. One of them has to be outside. Drink an absolute obscene amount of water to the point where I like almost wet myself when I went on a walk. You also have to like eat really well, read, like it's intense. And so quite a lot of this content around it is like people who obviously like want to make a big change in their life, but they maybe don't know how, or they think that the only way to do that is to get serious. Now I've watched this content. I quite enjoy it, but I've never really considered that the concept of locking in is relevant for studying in a way, like locking in academically, because it just kind of sounds a bit toxic and it's not necessarily, in the way that it's framed, that helpful for adult learners, I don't think. Because, like, yes, you are committed to your studying, but you also have other responsibilities, meaning that you can't lock in and chain yourself to the desk for a week or pull 3 all-nighters in a row to get your studying done, because you've got a job, you've got a life. And so it may feel like you have to choose sometimes of like studying or having a social life, studying or getting into like the fittest, best place in your life, or reading for your course or reading for fun. Like I definitely noticed that when I was like deep in the thick of my degree, it just felt like I just didn't have much time for anything else. I was like working, trying to just survive, studying. It didn't always feel like I had a lot of time for other things. But then I started thinking about this locking in concept, and it's not that it doesn't work for studying. I think it just needs reframing. So I'm going to reframe it in this episode and show you what it actually means to lock in academically in a way that is sustainable and that actually works for adult learners. So, like I implied, I think this idea of locking in is quite toxic. It implies prioritizing studying above all else. You can't have a social life. You can't have free time. Like, if you were really serious about studying, you would make it the priority. Like, you're not going to be able to make it through your long TBR. You're not going to be able to read 25 books this year because you've got all your course reading to do. Like, you can't possibly train for something big like a marathon while you're doing this because you're locked in on your one thing, which is studying. I also think that the idea of locking in is like very macho as well. It's all about hustle and effort and discipline and blood, sweat and tears. The idea of grinding away until you reach a goal. And like, I am all about commitment. I am all about like, you got to put in the work sometimes. Like, not everything is doable quickly in life, but we're going to be smarter than this. We're going to be more strategic than this. So my reframe of locking in, the locking in academically means creating a smart, sustainable study system. It doesn't mean grinding yourself into the ground. Like, what if locking in academically meant creating sustainable, balanced commitment? So it's not an all or nothing grind where studying comes above everything else, but it's a smart, strategic way of working that still allows time for all your other responsibilities and all the other parts of your identity. So locking in requires 3 key pillars. Okay, the first one is to understand your course, because you need to understand the rules of the game to be able to play it properly and to be able to play it smartly. So this involves finding out some things, right? We need to obviously understand the structure of our course, our qualification, the timeline. So, okay, like what are the key deadlines? What are the milestones that we have to meet? And then the most important bit is, how is it assessed? I spoke about this in last week's episode, but ultimately, your entire result of your qualification comes down to whether or not you have demonstrated the correct level and amount of knowledge and skills in your assessments. So your assessments are the thing that assesses what grade you should get. So it's really important to understand the types of assessments on your course, their weighting, what skills are being assessed in those assessments, and from that to actually work out which study activities have the highest impact on your grade. So here, locked in means you're not winging it. That's what it means. The second pillar is to understand yourself. So your schedule, first of all, like when are you not going to study? When are you going to study? Like what does your week look like? What else have you got going on? How does studying actually fit into that? Also, what else you value, right? Your social life, connection, family, exercise, cooking, reading, other hobbies, and what non-studying goals you have for the year. Like, do you want to run a half marathon or a marathon this year? Do you want to plant a vegetable garden? Like, do you want to do some DIY? Do you want to pick up a hobby? Do you want to read 50 books and track it? Like, what do you want to do else this year that's not just, surviving and studying? And then we also need to think about like you as a person. So what is your kind of energy patterns and your preferences when it comes to studying? So are you someone that prefers shorter study sessions or longer ones? Morning or evening? Weekday or weekend? At your desk or out of the house? We need to really understand this. It might be that, like, depending on your like work week, it might be that you have more energy for studying like Monday, Tuesday evenings after work, but midway through the week, your energy dips and your evenings studying it's just not as productive. You're better off just focusing on like resting and then hitting it again at the weekend. So we need to kind of really understand ourselves here. And then this also links to your learning style and your learning needs. So how do you learn best? What works and what doesn't for you? If you are neurodivergent, what is the best way to learn for your unique profile? Have you found that yet? Are you still working it out? What ideas might you have about what definitely doesn't work and what could work? So here, locked in means a study strategy that actually fits your real life, not your aspirational life, not someone else's, your actual real life. And then the third step is to create the game plan. So we take all of this knowledge, all of this insight, and we turn it into a game plan, which consists of a few things. It consists of study strategies that fit your learning needs, but are also tailored to your subject. So this will be, how you organize yourself, your reading strategy, note-taking strategy, how you plan for and actually do your various assessments. This is obviously all very much tied to what subject are you studying? What is your goals? Like, what is your lifestyle? How does that fit in? How does that fit your learning needs? Like, designing that to be kind of tailored to you. And then on a similar vein, your game plan also includes thinking about your study routine. So what routine is going to allow you to make progress every week while also making time for the other areas of your life? Because we don't want to kind of have it take over, right? And then the final part of this game plan is study habits and routines that keep you feeling motivated, focused, and confident. So, like, how do you get yourself organized? How do you get focused, stay focused? How do you make sure your study sessions are productive? What do you do when your motivation dips or when you lack confidence? Like, how do you come back from challenges? Like, these are all like what kind of things do you do daily, weekly, monthly that keep you feeling good and organized and confident and clear and calm and not overwhelmed? These are all things that we want to kind of get clear on, because locked in here means a sustainable, balanced academic plan that allows you to hit your goals without burning out and without studying taking over your life. So I want to share some examples, some practical examples of what I think healthy locking in is. So a few examples of how to balance committed studying with other priorities. So the first one, we're going to call her the social butterfly. So she loves seeing her friends, seeing her family at weekends. She wants to do well in her course, but she doesn't want to be chained to her desk for her whole weekend. Like that's not life for her. She works full time. She wants to be able to make time to go and see friends and family at weekends. And that helps her stay motivated the rest of the week. So she will have some tailored strategies in her academic game plan. So for example, she focuses on time-blocked, focused study sessions most evenings after work. And she knows that if she does this as a strategy, it will allow for more spaciousness at the weekends. So she's kind of not just winging it and letting it happen by chance. That's like one end of the spectrum. And she's not locking in macho kind of way and just almost being like, well, no, I don't have time. I just won't be able to, see friends properly. I won't be able to have lots of fun plans. Like, that's not possible either. I just have to study. Like, there's a middle ground, guys. So other things she does is she focuses on building her skills in breaking down tasks to their like smallest component so that it's not overwhelming and she can tick them off quickly. And also she focuses on building habits that help her get and stay focused quickly to make the most of her shorter study sessions. If you are a student who, because of your preference, because of your schedule, you can study maybe like fewer study sessions each week, but longer ones. Like you will study for like 3 hours at a time, 5 hours at a time, 8 hours at a time. Obviously, you have to be able to kind of get and stay focused, but it's not as important that you can get right into it. Like you have time to warm up in a study session. If you're studying in 30-minute blocks, 60-minute blocks, you have to know how to frigging get down to it pretty quick, because you can't faff about for 20 minutes because then a third or half of your study time is gone. So the result here for the social butterfly is that she can go out guilt-free on the weekends because progress has been made earlier in the week. So our second example, we have the marathon runner. So she wants to train for her first marathon, but she has no idea how to fit in all of the training with studying. And so her academic game plan is going to include ways to plan study sessions and training together. Okay, so she's going to habit stack studying and training planning. So each week at the same time that she plans out the training for the week, so the days and times that she's going to run, the days and times that she's going to do strength training or cross training, she's also going to plan out her study sessions for the week, the days and the times, and the study tasks for the week in priority order. So habit stacking, doing those things together also makes sense. If you do them in isolation, they're probably going to clash. And then some study strategies and like ideas for routines that will work for our marathon runner is if she, say, has to do a long run on a Saturday or a Sunday, she might decide that she's going to study for an hour before her long run, right? So she's going to like get ready, have some food, and then in the time it's going to take for her food to digest anyway, she's going to do some studying because she knows she'll be tired when she gets back and maybe won't want to study. She might plan easy runs during the week or gym sessions as a transition point. So maybe like after work to shake off the work day and then study after, or doing some studying and then going for an easy run after to help wind down, ready for relaxing. The various points in my life where I pick up running and then normally get injured and can't, I love an evening run. If only it was safer for women to do that. But I love like finishing my day and then going out and just like running off the day. So this is what our marathon runner might do. And then what she also might do is during her study breaks. So we know that if you're studying for like more than an hour, you need to be taking regular breaks. She could use that time to do her mobility, to do her stretching, which is going to help keep her more focused for her studying and then actually also help with her training. So can you see here that like this game plan that's centered around, well, how do I study and achieve those goals? How do I pick my strategies and my routines and my practices? It means for her, she can make progress in both of her goals without burnout and use each other to like support the achievement of the other one. So our final little case study is the overwhelmed reader. So she is studying a course with a dense reading list. It's a reading heavy course. Not necessarily all priority, but there's a lot of reading. She also wants to make time for reading for fun, and it also like helps her relax. So she wants to make time for it. But it often feels like she kind of has to put her fun reading on the back burner. So in her academic game plan, things that she can focus on. So firstly, get clear on her reading strategy. So making sure that she prioritizes what is like assessment focused, definitely needed reading for her upcoming assessments, separating that out from the nice to reading, the like nice to, you know, she doesn't have to read it, but she could, or even like the reading that you could actually just skip entirely because it's not relevant for the assessments. Another thing that she'll want to do is she'll want to improve her targeted reading skills, because like it's not just about reading, it's not just about trying to read faster. There are specific strategies that you can use to like skim and scan and pick out key learning points quickly and improve your comprehension. So she's going to want to focus there because that's going to have a big impact. And then she might also put in a little ritual or routine where she ties buying new books to certain study rewards. So it might be when she submits an essay, or let's say if she starts writing her essay by a certain date, rather than procrastinating over starting, she gets to buy a book off of her TBR. So the result here is that she feels locked in because she's being intentional. She feels more motivated to do the course reading because she can see how it's actually helping her to achieve better grades. And then she's probably doing less reading each week, which means, ta-da, she has more time to do the things she wants to do. So none of these students, my make-believe students, but these are based on like real people that I've worked with, none of these students are grinding 24/7, but they are locked in because they have a clear strategic game plan and they're executing it consistently and sustainably. Now, if you're listening and thinking, okay, I love this idea, but I have no clue how to actually build that kind of game plan for myself, well, you're in luck because I recently launched a new service called the Academic Game Plan. I'm very excited about this because some of my favorite things is being nosy. And so finding out everything about someone studying and their study situation, and also problem solving. I've always said that any student studying any subject can come to me with say an essay question, and I'll be able to help them work out what they need to do for that essay, even though I don't know the content. It's like a little magic power that I have cultivated over the past decade, my goodness, of running this business. The same is true of creating game plans. So if someone comes to me and tells me how their course is structured, their routine, what they find difficult about studying, how they like to study, their preferences, I can make a game plan and tell them how to study. So I thought, why not actually put that into an entire offer? So this is a new one-on-one service for career-driven students who can't afford to fail, drift, or burn out, right? They are committed to their studying. They want to make it happen, but it's all feeling a bit hard, right? They're putting in effort, but their grades aren't reflected in that effort. And they know that it's not really sustainable for them to just keep studying the way that they're studying. It's all quite overwhelming. They're trying to do too much. They're not really feeling like they've got a plan. They feel like they're kind of winging it. And I am very much like this. I like someone to just give me a plan to follow, and then I follow it. So in the academic game plan, which you can find out more through the link in the episode description for this episode, you get a few things. So the first thing is I send you a quick questionnaire to find out more about your course, your assessments, your schedule, your study skills, your preferences, all of that stuff. We'll then have a 90-minute game plan call where we're going to do 3 things. So we create a plan for your entire semester or class or next few months of studying, whatever the timeline makes sense for you. And we reverse engineer it from all of your assessment due dates. We create a week-by-week schedule that works with your life and your energy, that is completely tailored to the assessments, because that's the important bit. We're no longer going to make study plans based on what do I need to read this week. Talking about reading, the second thing we do in this call is we design a reading and note-taking strategy that works for your course, that stops you drowning in reading, and it means you're always working towards your next assignment, because that's the thing you're graded on. You're doing just enough reading to get the information you need. We're not just having you spending 10, 20 hours a week reading. Then the third thing we do is we design sustainable study habits and routines that are going to help you make more progress each week while protecting time for rest and all your other responsibilities. So then that all gets created into your game plan. You will then go off into the world for a few weeks with your new plan to test it in real life. And I'll be on hand via email to answer any questions or help if any kind of challenges or motivation or mindset issues arise. And then we wrap up the process with a 60-minute call. So we'll talk about how the last few weeks have been, and we'll troubleshoot any challenges that have popped up. We'll review your routines and strategies and make any tweaks going forward. Now, the great thing about this is that you not only leave with a game plan for your current module or semester or schedule of classes, you will learn a repeatable process that you can then implement for yourself to create a new game plan at the start of your next semester or your next academic year. You'll have so much more confidence in your studying because you know that your study methods are aligned to your course and your life and the way you actually study. So, like I said, you can find out more through the link in the description of this episode. There's more info about this service, but also you can book in a free call with me to ask questions or chat through your situation a bit more, so to see if it's right for you. I designed the academic game plan because I see too many students wrongly believing that they just need to try harder. They need to put more hours in, they need to carve out more time in their schedule for studying, they need to get more serious, when in fact, they need some help. They need to stop and zoom out and figure out the most efficient and effective way to study for their course, not to tick everything off and feel like a good little student, but to prioritize the exact tasks that are going to make sure they achieve the high grades that they want. So if you want to be seriously and sustainably locked in for the rest of this academic year, without burning out and hating your life, then this is what you need. A academic game plan. And I've obviously walked you through in this episode the process of like starting to kind of think about what yours is based on your life and your other goals you have for your life and the other areas of your life that are important to you. And I've obviously walked you through some examples of our social butterfly and our marathon runner and our overwhelmed reader, so you can see how you can apply that to yourself. And then I've shared a little bit more about this new service if you want to take that next step with me. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope it's given you a new perspective on this idea of like locking in, because it doesn't have to mean that you forgo all of your other hobbies, you chain yourself to your desk. Like, it's not about grinding yourself into the ground. Like, locking in academically is about creating that smart, sustainable study system that is actually going to help you do the thing and not hate it. Because you don't need more willpower or hours in the day. You need a personalized game plan that actually fits your life. So you always know what you're working towards and how you will get there. Okay, thank you so much for listening and or watching this episode. I will see you in the next one.